podcast.com, where I share about family travel and outdoor adventure. This summer, my family and I went on a big North Carolina road trip. I have been going to the North Carolina's Outer Banks since I was a young kid, and my family has a house there in Duck, North Carolina. And so almost every summer we head east from our home in Seattle and we meet up with family and spend some time at the beach. This time we decided to incorporate, just my family and I just decided to incorporate a few more stops to make kind of a fun Eastern North Carolina coastal road trip. And so our first stop after landing in Raleigh was Kinston, North Carolina. Now a lot of people have heard about Kinston, but a lot of people have no idea where Kinston is. Kinston is in Eastern North Carolina. It's not quite on the coast, but it is in the eastern part of the state, and it has now kind of made a comeback. Used to be a huge tobacco town, and now that's not such a big deal anymore. It kind of went through a rough period, and it's coming back with new restaurants and new neat hotels and kind of a really cool art scene. And we first heard about Kinston because of the chef Vivian Howard, who owns a fine dining restaurant, farm-to-table restaurant called The Chef and the Farmer. And she had a TV series on PBS that my husband and I used to watch. It's no longer on anymore, but she does have a show that's coming up next year that will have a similar southern regional cuisine feel. And so we heard about Chef and the Farmer, and we'd always wanted to dine there ever since watching her show, and so we wanted to incorporate a stop here in our North Carolina road trip this summer. What I'll do in this video is take you through our little adventure in Kinston. Our first stop after driving in from Raleigh was Middle Grounds Coffee. I no longer drink coffee anymore, but my husband does, and he loved it. The staff was super friendly there, and they had games for the kids to play, and happy to get into the air conditioning because it is super hot, as you can imagine, in the summer, and it's hot and humid in Kinston, and you don't have those coastal breezes quite like you have at the beach. So we had a great experience there, and then headed to Pearson Park. Pearson Park has been redone in recent years. And it now has, its biggest feature is this really neat dragon structure that the kids can climb on, and then it has a slide incorporated to it and like different climbing aspects. And that was a lot of fun, and I believe they call it the Loch Ness Dragon because the Neuse River is what runs through Kinston. Other things we loved about that park was it had those shade coverings, so while the kids were playing we could just kind of hang out and relax in the shade. And then they also have a story walk that we did after the kids played for a while. Right now it's Dragons Love Tacos, and so if you're not familiar with story walks, so it's like a little placard is each page of the book, and then you walk along the pathway to each placard and just read the book like that.
Salsa, spicy red salsa. They make spicy chunky salsa, spicy smooth salsa.
Nodding yes for spicy foods.
Okay, read this one, Brewing. With lots of tacos. If you want to have some dragons over for a taco party, you'll need buckets of tacos, pantloads of tacos. The best way to judge is to get a boat and
There's also some art to check out along the way.
I think that's from a tire.
You think?
And that's...
What are you sitting in?
That's a lantern. That's a little pot.
So all of this was just a walking tour. After the park, we headed to the Boiler Room, Vivian Howard's other restaurant, and it's a more casual restaurant compared to Chef and the Farmer, which is more fine dining. And they're known for their oysters. They have a great kids menu, and then Slade and I shared the PLTs. So instead of tomatoes, they put peaches in, and it was absolutely delicious. I actually got it last year when the kids and I drove through Kinston just for a quick stop on our way back to Raleigh after visiting the Outer Banks. Okay, so after the boiler room, we did tons more walking around town, and we stopped in the Parrott's general store. Which I would highly recommend for kids. A lot of times they have little chicks. They have a parrot. Of course, sometimes he talks. He did not talk for us. And they have toys and then just like general things that people would need in a town. They have.
I said his name would have to be Mr. or Mrs. Kitty.
What's your favorite color?
Ask him another question.
Do you like me?
They have just tons of stuff. It's a fun place to stop. So we got a few things in there. And then we continued on just checking out. There's a lot of art going on in Kinston. Really neat one to check out is called The Flue, and it is Flue, and it is a depiction of the old tobacco barns. And that was really neat to walk.
You want to go look at the Mother Earth?
After that, we went to Mother Earth Brewing, which is another huge part of Kinston's revitalization. It is just a beautiful brewery. Awesome beer. We wish that we could get it. You can't get it outside of North Carolina, but we did make sure to have it whenever we could during the whole trip. So we were there for a little while, grabbed a drink, and they have a great area outside that our kids loved playing, and they have kind of like the big games, like the big Jenga and things like that outside. Then we went and checked in at our hotel. So we stayed at the O'Neill, which is such a neat hotel. It is a new hotel, but it is an old building that used to be a bank. And so you'll see as we show you around that there are vaults, and you can just see that it did used to be a bank. There aren't very many rooms, so we have had these reservations for a while. What was really neat about our room is that there is a vault inside the room, and then that's where they put the bunk beds for the kids. And it has its own like separate door that can close, and so the kids slept in these bunk beds in the vault, and then there's a room outside for us. So the O'Neill was such a neat place. We loved that they had snacks available all the time. They also have this little fridge that you can grab a drink. Actually, they have Mother Earth beer in there, and
Yeah, it's like
Push it up.
give it a turn.
Go ahead.
And this is
Sweet.
you guys.
We get bunk beds!
That's right, you get the bump.
And then we got bunk beds! Bunk beds!
Kids always love
Yay!
the
Yay! Yay!
This is so cool.
so after the hotel check-in, Georgia took a nap, and I got to hang out with her doing that, and then Bergen and Slade walked around just exploring more of the shops and just walking around and enjoying the art. After nap time, we headed back to Mother Earth because we wanted to do a tour of the brewery, which was so cool. We had a great tour guide. She was super informative. She knew a ton about the beer and the process. There is the highlight for the kids, I think, was the slide. This slide was no longer needed at some park, and the brewery just decided to have it in their brewery. And it doesn't really hold any purpose other than just a slide, and the kids, anyone can go down during the tour. And that was really neat just to see it for the kids, to see the process of how everything is manufactured, and they showed kind of like the canning process and all that. That was really cool. Okay, so then after Mother Earth, we went to the Chef and the Farmer and had dinner. This is a fine dining restaurant, so we were a little nervous about our kids. Our kids are 8 and 4, but they are used to eating out a lot. But still, it's a little bit of a fancier restaurant. They did great, and we absolutely loved the food. We opted to do family style, where we just ordered a bunch of things. They have the small plate menu and then entrees, and so we opted just to share everything, and that worked out really well. So the highlights for me were the tomato pie. We had this crudo that was in a peach soup puree thing that was delicious. Slade had tried okra for the first time and just loved it. Just the way that she cooks and prepares things is absolutely delicious, and it really just brings out the essence of the food. So after Chef and the Farmer, we just headed back home, and everyone crashed and went to bed, and we headed out to our next stop, which you'll hear on our next video. So I hope you enjoyed following along on our adventure in Kinston, North Carolina with our kids. And make sure to stay tuned, because there will be more videos on this North Carolina road trip coming up. And if you enjoyed the video, make sure to like and make sure to subscribe to our channel also, so you don't miss our next video. See you later.